Happy Friday. You are watching and listening to Deprogram with Ted Rall and John Kiriakou. I'm Ted. Hi, John.
I'm John. Hey, how are you?
I'm trying to figure out my head here in my hotel room because there's this like piece of wood over. So I'm trying not to make my head too big. We had a conversation about relative head sizes the other day, and I'm like, okay, I'm trying to like.
We did.
Apparently, there's some camera that adjusts these things for podcasters automatically, and I have one of these. I'm very excited. I ordered it, so we'll see if it works. It should be there by the time I get back to New York next week. John, lots to talk about. The one thing that I promised not to talk to you about, unless you wanted to talk about it, is this. Do you hear this K-pop story? It's pretty funny.
K-pop story, no. And I have a niece who's absolutely nuts for these K-pop kids.
Well, so there's some K-pop band that is a virtual K-pop band. In other words, no one's ever seen them. There's just basically avatars.
Oh my
and
God.
Anyway, someone in Korea went online and said, we don't know. They draw themselves as good looking, as cute, but they could be ugly. So the virtual band sued for defamation. It's like, you can't call us ugly. You don't even know that. And the defense was, well, they could well be ugly. We don't know that. And,
could be.
They could be.
Although anyway, Koreans, listen, I got to be very careful. I've never met an unattractive Korean. Okay, they're
good-looking people.
They're good-looking people.
They really are. So probably if they're really, they might not be Korean, really, the K-poppers. This is like, what was that band? The Alan Parsons Project, right? That no one, they never toured. Nobody knew what they looked like, or maybe they didn't know it, but they didn't tour.
Yes.
Anyway, so they were the Alan Parsons Project of Korea. Anyway, they won the case. They were each awarded about $70 each, the members of the Avatar.
$70.
Yeah. So a victory, not a major victory, but a victory nevertheless for being called ugly.
Wow. Okay, good for them.
We're going to do the whole hour on that.
Yeah, why not? Sure.
Okay, listen, we'll get into the implications of Korean law. All right, seriously though, obviously this MI6 dark web portal has your name all over it, John. So there's no way we're not talking about it.
Well, let's start with that. MI6 has decided to establish a presence on the dark web for the specific purpose of trying to get Russians who are on the dark web to allow themselves to be recruited by MI6 so that they can spy on Russia. I have to say, MI6 is a couple of years late to the game because the CIA did this years ago. It's nothing new, and God knows the Russians are on the deep web, as are the Chinese and the North Koreans and the Iranians and the Israelis and everybody else who does this kind of thing. So it's newsworthy for a day, but and they may even recruit somebody. But the thing is, look at it this way: the dark web is a very dangerous place, not just because of what goes on there and what you can buy.
John, can you explain for people who kind of pretend that they know what the dark web is, but have never, like me, have never been on it and wouldn't know how to access it if we wanted to?
It's my understanding that you have to access it through the Tor browser. You can't just type in dark web in Google and it takes you there. It's hard to get there, and it's kind of a hidden part of the internet where you have to navigate a path to get to it, and that's where you can buy a fake passport, order drugs to be delivered to your house, guns, child pornography, human trafficking. You get a slave, sent to you from Mexico or Mali or whatever. It's a very dangerous thing. I know, right? Who couldn't use a slave? But it's a very dangerous thing. And
is it all like that, or is there anything on there that's not illegal?
Oh no, there's a lot of stuff, like, for example, 4chan, 8chan, whatever it's calling itself today, is there.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah. But the thing is the FBI is also there, and the CIA is there, and NSA is there, and MI5 is there, and I mean everybody, all the law enforcement's there. Look at all these guys like Kim.com, or who's the guy that just got a pardon by Trump, who got 75 years for selling drugs on the dark web. All the major national law enforcement organizations are there as well. And so if you go to the dark web and, order drugs or engage a hitman to kill your spouse or whatever, which people have tried to do, law enforcement is going to be on you like white on rice. It's a really dumb thing to do. I was momentarily tempted to download the Tor browser just to see, how it is to use it. And then I don't want to poke that hornet's nest. And so I ended up not doing it.
Yeah, I feel you and I, you especially, but me too. We have targets on our backs as it is.
It's just not worth the trouble.
Don't need the trouble.
No.
So my understanding is that the U.S. used this to try to recruit spies in China, and the Chinese intelligence agencies busted the encryption and basically caught all the Chinese traitors who tried to sign up.
Exactly right. That's exactly what happened.
Could that happen again?
100%. And maybe by multiple services or organizations. I wouldn't mess with it at all. I really wouldn't.
So what are the chances of this working, right? I mean, Russian people that I've met are not stupid, and they've been living under authoritarianism their entire lives. They kind of know that, it's not smart to, they got to think the FSB, the GRU, et cetera, they're there. Yeah. It's like probably, is anyone worth recruiting actually going to chance this thing with MI6? You have to look at the instructions that are on YouTube.
I know,
so
right?
You go on YouTube and the FSB is like watching the YouTube with you, and they're like, look at Ted.
Yeah, exactly.
Look at Tedski.
Exactly.
What's he doing?
I can't imagine that anybody's going to get away with this. I can't even imagine it. No, I just don't believe.
So you think it's an incredibly boneheaded idea?
I do. I think it's a terrible idea. Terrible idea unless you're so desperate that you're willing to risk spending the rest of your life in prison for espionage. Don't do it.
Are Russian spies hard to recruit?
Yes. Yeah, just like Cubans are, because their counterintelligence is so good. Most of the Russian spies that the CIA has recruited over the years have been double agents who had been run against the CIA or MI6 by the Russian services. Yeah, the Russians are very good at this kind of thing. They know exactly what they're doing.
That's what I would have to think. Killer Rabbit 123, thank you so much for the donation. Why is MI6 less murderous than the CIA or the French?
That's a good question.
Especially given that the UK has a similar history to France in helping to found the CIA.
Yeah. It's funny because the British military, British occupation forces over the year have had a terrible reputation for being murderous, right? Look what they did in South Asia, in India and Pakistan and Bangladesh. Look what they did in sub-Saharan Africa with their colonies there, Rhodesia, for example. They killed plenty of people. But when it comes to the services, you're right. They really don't kill people. When I was last in the UK, I was there in March, and I was giving my speeches around Northern England, and the guy that was my conversant, right? We're on stage, he'll prompt me with a question, then I tell his story, et cetera, et cetera. He was a retired MI6 officer, and we talked about this, and he said that on the working level, MI6 officers really don't like the CIA. Not because we're not nice guys. We're all nice guys. We all get along well. We go out to dinner, have drinks, hang out, whatever. But it's because the CIA is just so quick to kill people. And he said, it's just unseemly. It's ungentlemanly. You just decide you don't like someone, so you kill him. You don't try to develop him. You don't try to recruit him. You don't try to neutralize him in some non-lethal way. Plant child porn on his computer and get him arrested or something. At least you're not killing him. But the CIA is perfectly happy just to blow somebody's brains out without giving it a second thought.
Is that just a subset of America's general culture of violence?
You know what? I think it is. And that's a part of it. And I think another part of it is that 9/11 gave us this carte blanche to do whatever we wanted and to not have to answer any questions about it. Next thing you know, we've got a torture program. We have a secret prison program. We have an extraordinary rendition program. We've got Guantanamo. We've got Abu Ghraib. Nobody's ever paid any price, and not really. You know, a couple of slobs in Abu Ghraib did. This slob did, but not any of the leaders, the creators of these programs. And like I said, it's ungentlemanly to the Brits. They just have not been able to figure out why we did this.
So, since you brought up gentlemanliness, what about ladylike behavior? Myra Gomez wants to know, what is the role of, think about this answer while I read an ad. What is the role of women in the spy world? And I have an ad to read for us, and off we go. Sorry about the little delay. This is smoother when Robbie does it. Hey everyone, tired of paying outrageous prices for your medications while other countries pay a fraction of the cost? Yes, I am. President Trump just signed an executive order to fix this problem, but why wait? BlockbusterHealth.com is already offering Americans these savings right now. We're talking up to 80% off the same exact medications you're already taking. Some brands, same quality, just fair prices. Whether it's Ozempic, insulin, or any other prescription, Blockbuster Health connects you directly with licensed pharmacies that offer international pricing. No middlemen, no markup, just honest prices. Call 1-888-350-1353 or visit blockbusterhealth.com. Americans shouldn't have to choose between their health and their wallet. Check it out.
Yeah. Good.
Okay.
That's a good ad. I liked that ad.
Me too. Women in the spy world.
There's a story there. So women in the spy world, until 1994, women were discriminated against at the CIA. Women just did not rise up to the top levels of the CIA, with a couple of exceptions in the Directorate of Intelligence. In the Director of Operations, they did not rise to the top until 1994. In the late 80s, CIA women filed a class action suit against the CIA saying that they were discriminated against because they were women. And in 1994, a judge in the Eastern District of Virginia not only ruled that, yes, they had been discriminated against, he also he also said in his ruling that he had never seen a case where the defendant had so clearly documented his own crimes against the plaintiff. And so what happened was every woman in the CIA at the level of GS, I think it was 12 and higher, got $100,000 and a 2-grade promotion. Now, that's incredible, because you're sitting next to somebody today who's your assistant, and the next day they're your superior, literally. Now, in theory, that was a good thing. In practice, it wasn't necessarily a good thing, because it promoted a whole bunch of women like Gina Haspel and Mary Margaret Graham into the senior intelligence service, and they were utterly unqualified to be there. And so post 1994, but especially post 9/11, men and women were equal, and women were just as likely to be murderous animals as men were.
Like Gina Haspel. I
mean, we called her Bloody Gina Haspel for a reason.
She was she personally supervised waterboarding.
Yeah, she sure did. She flew all the way out to the secret prison just so she could sit there and watch a torture session, just to get her rocks off. Not for any other reason. There's no reason for somebody who's SIS-4, leading an entire army of paramilitary people, to fly out to a secret prison in the jungle to just sit in the room like this and watch a man be tortured. Utterly unacceptable.
Buddy Dharma wants to know, John and Ted, any comments on TikTok hiring former Israeli military officials to moderate TikTok and them cracking down on free speech against Israel and its interests?
You know, Ted, when I read this, I wanted to believe that it wasn't true, but of course we have to believe that it is true. I think that I think there's an international program. When I say international, I mean US, Israel, probably others, UK, Canada, whatever, where our First Amendment right to freedom of speech is just simply not being respected. It's being squelched in the name of Israel. I was at this event last night in Chicago. I put on Facebook. It was the first annual Independent Journalism Awards. And a couple of people gave very pointed speeches in which they said that we're looking at this whole Israel thing the wrong way. We're looking at it as a freedom of speech issue. We should be looking at it as a freedom of religion issue, because the White House et al. Have now decided that if you don't support Benjamin Netanyahu's version of Judaism, that you're anti-Semitic. And what that is that's the government interfering with the practice of a religion. So maybe, instead of jumping up and down and yelling and writing op-eds about how our freedom of speech is being squelched, it's not actually speech we should be focused on. It's religion. That this arch-conservative Zionist brand of Judaism is being forced down our throats. And if we don't like it, then tough shit for us.
Well, yeah, no, it's interesting, right? I mean, because we saw that giant split emerge during the campus protests over Gaza, where the Zionists basically have scrubbed anti-Zionist Jews, in big groups like Jewish Voice for Peace, from the historical narrative. It's like they don't exist, even though they're really very significant in the United States. A lot of anti-Netanyahu, anti-genocide protesters are Jewish people who are absolutely horrified at what's going on.
That's exactly right.
But basically, it's sort of like a subtext, a subset of the fact that these are, Reformed Jews, and of course, hardcore, ultra Orthodox and conservatives don't consider them to be the real thing. They're like, you guys are fake, and there's even some, even the right of return isn't automatically guaranteed to an American Reformed Jew. Although it is for any other variety of Jew, right?
Yeah, I think that's right.
So
I think that's right.
Yeah, it's rough. What about Lulu wants to know, Ted and John, there's a rumor that Novichok, the nerve gas, is an MI6 invention. What do you think? I don't know. I have no idea.
It was my understanding that the inventor of Novichok was a Russian scientist who was greatly celebrated and honored during his lifetime for this invention. I hadn't heard that it was British. It was always my understanding that it was Russian, and that they were proud of it.
Well, this is okay here. This is a tough question. This is a brutal question. Brian wants to know, I wonder if the Mossad would kill an American inside of America.
Oh, what makes you think they haven't?
Oh my God, really?
I would bet money on it.
Do you have anyone specifically in mind?
No, but it's been my experience over the course of what now has been a very long career that the Mossad does literally anything it wants, anywhere it wants, against anyone it wants. And it's almost impossible to protect yourself. We know that they are spying on us in practically every defense contractor in America. Just like the Chinese are spying on us in every major university in America, in PhD programs in the hard sciences, the Israelis have penetrated or are attempting to penetrate every single defense contractor in America. And because they're Israelis, we don't have the guts to do anything about it. We just shake our heads and say, wow, that's a real shame.
That shouldn't happen.
Yeah, well, that's wrong.
Sky has a one for you, John. What's stopping Pakistan from giving its nuclear program to Saudi Arabia?
Oh, I would bet my next paycheck that they have.
What? Really?
Listen, the Saudis started seeking nuclear weapons technology in the 1980s. This is not something that's new. And the rumor always was that it was the Saudis who paid for AQ Khan to buy the technology from the North Koreans. So nuclear technology was sold by North Korea to Pakistan for AQ Khan to develop the Pakistani nuclear program using Saudi money. This is something that, gosh, I have to be careful on this one. This is something that has always been of interest in the intelligence community, but not of enough interest for the intelligence community to actually do something about it. And I'll tell you the reason why. The reason why is that the conventional wisdom has always been, if the Saudis were to develop a nuclear weapon, it would be for use against Iran. And we didn't have a problem with that.
We should have a problem with that, to say the least. It's
a very dangerous world, and we should have a problem with that, yes.
Oh, thank you very much for the $20 donation from
thank you.
Mount 16N7. Hi, guys, from Mike in Nottingham. Do you have any thoughts on Peter Mandelson, UK ambassador to Washington, being fired by Keir Starmer over his friendship with Epstein last week?
You know, it's that he lied about his friendship with Epstein. Officially, he was like, yeah, I knew Epstein. I met him once or twice, years ago, of course, years ago, before all the problems. Well, no, you were joined at the hip with Epstein. You went to his house. You went to his island. God knows what else you did. But the thing is that he lied about it. He lied about it to Keir Starmer. He lied about it in the course of his investigation for his security clearance. And, this stuff's bound to get out. So you better nip it in the bud right now and just yank him. And that's what happened. He'll never be anything of import again in the British Foreign Service.
Speaking of Epstein, Patrick White says, I'm so hung up on the line in the Trump letter to Epstein where he said, enigmas never die.
Yeah, what the heck is
what
that?
What on earth does that mean? Patrick asked. Is that a reference to something? Or like a code? I'm stumped.
I'll tell you something. I wrote one innocuous memo one time in the spring of 2002. And I used some terminology that I always use. I said, I know this sounds crazy, but, and then I said what I wanted to say. It didn't sound crazy. It's just something that I say sometimes when I'm writing an email. Next thing I know, FBI comes to my office. I'm at the CIA and the FBI comes to my office. They're like, what did you mean? What'd you mean by this? And I'm like, I don't even remember writing it. Okay, think, because this is important. And it was about the Scooter Libby case. I happen to be the note taker in this meeting where Cheney came in and lost his shit because he was screaming like a crazy person. And he said, why didn't I know that this woman was a CIA undercover operative? Why do I have to read about it in the Washington Post? And I went back and my boss said, listen, you got to send an email to all of the executive assistants asking who knew that Valerie Plame. I never met Valerie Plame. So I didn't know Valerie Plame was a deep cover officer. I knew Joe Wilson because I met him in Baghdad when he was the chargé d'affaires. So I'm like, I know this sounds crazy, but apparently Joe Wilson's wife was a deep cover officer for us. Do you know, blah, blah, blah. It was the wording that kind of got me tripped up. So the point that I'm trying to make is sometimes you just dash something off in an email and you don't give it a second thought. And then later on, people are like, whoa, is that a code? Because it kind of looks like a code. And the FBI thought that I knew something that I didn't know. And that why did I say it sounds crazy? It's not crazy. Scooter Libby is going to go to prison for this. I'm like, oh, shit. By the way, I was in the Scooter Libby trial. I was CIA officer number 4.
I'll look up that transcript I
testified. Yeah, I testified behind a sheet.
I mean, it's funny, you should say that that story reminds me of this. So I did a lot of freelance illustration as a cartoonist. I still do. And I got a gig doing a book cover. And it was just, it needed a skyline. So, and I thought it would be fun. So I drew the skyline of New York City. There's the City Court building, the Twin Towers. This is several years before 9/11. And I drew a plane flying into one of the World Trade Centers. This is from like the 90s, man. Yeah. It's like 96 or something.
See, but then conspiracy theorists would say that Rall, he must have had something to do with it.
Yes.
Because he's predicting, he's telegraphing in advance.
Knew.
Yeah, he knew.
And so I got these. I got a lot. Every now and then I still get queries about it, like, from 9/11 type people. And it's like, literally, I just drew it. I just drew it.
The Simpsons is like that, Ted. Where the Simpsons have predicted accidentally 20 different major world events over the course of
Trump's
38 seasons. Trump's presidency being a big one.
Yeah. I guess the thing is, if you have a series that's on for over 30 years,
right?
You're going to cover so much ground.
They just signed up for their 38th season.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And and in my case, if you've drawn like 5,000 cartoons, you're going to probably hit a few. There's going to be some coincidences.
Yeah. Christopher Guest and I follow each other on Twitter, and I DM'd him one time and I asked him, I said, are you tired of, sitting in the writer's room every week? And he says, we haven't even seen each other in years. He said, I live in New Orleans now. We all have little studios in our houses. We all voice our characters. We send them to LA and some engineer puts them all together. He said, we haven't seen each other in years.
That's funny. Yeah. No, God, I got to sit through a read-through, a Simpsons read-through once.
Oh my gosh.
So fun.
You're kiddking me.
Yeah. Matt Groening was like, come over to the lot and, sit
of course, Matt Groening.
Yeah, no, he's very open to cartoonists. It's like he goes to Comic-Con. Be a cartoonist. Yeah, he was. Yeah. Like, a lot of people, and it's funny. Speaking of coincidences, a lot of people think I'm influenced by his drawing style. His drawing style definitely predates mine.
Yeah,
but I never lived anywhere where his cartoons ran, and I saw them later. It's sort of like this week, a weird coincidence, right? So I drew a cartoon, and the image is basically like this steroidal, like ice meets like World War I Hun with the spike helmet, mega steroid violence, and it's basically, it says GOP, and he's like beating a woman with spikes, a bat full of spikes over the head, and he's like, "Kumbaya." But my original idea was "Kumbaya, motherfucker," but instead it's like "Kumbaya, libtard scum," right? And we know what this is about. Anyway, I inked the cartoon days ago. And then I was going to color it, and I sent it today. This morning, I see that Kevin Gallagher of the Baltimore Sun and the Economist, he did a cartoon. It's not the same, but it's got that image. There's two of those kinds of images, and with Trump in it. And I'm kind of like, damn it! If I'd seen that cartoon, I would not have drawn this cartoon. But I love my cartoon so much, I'm not sending it out.
There you go. Matt Groening did a cartoon in the early 80s called
Life in Hell.
Life in Hell. Thank you. And it ran in City Paper. And I remember one. It was so stupid that it made me laugh out loud. And it was so funny to me that I still think about it. It was titled The Meanest Dog in the World. It was 2 panels. And it was a drawing of a dog on a chain, and the chain is stretched as tautly as it would go.
John, that's not Matt Groening.
It's not?
You're gonna freak out when you figure out who that is. That's David Lynch.
No way.
David Lynch. Yeah, it was called The Angriest Dog in the World. Oh. It ran in alt weeklies.
I saw it at City Paper.
It was the same image every week.
So
it's 2 panels, like you said. It's a bleak, post-apocalyptic, like where we grew up, kind of landscape with like a factory in the background with like everything's boarded up, and the dog is like, someone says something stupid to the dog, like, and it could be something cultural, right? Just whatever. It could be like, we need more diversity, equity, and inclusion, and then the dog is just like, grrr.
It's so stupid that it makes me laugh. I can't help it.
It's so well done. It's David Lynch.
What?
Yeah,
Oh
all he
my
had
God.
to do, it's kind of amazing. All he had to do was change the text every week. And he got paid. I was like, what a racket. I was like, what a great. I mean, only years later did I get a racket that came close to being that good. But yeah, I mean, I did a,
Ted, we have a bunch of people to thank. Poonbanger 69. That is great. Poonbanger 69 gifted 5 subscriptions. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
Times
That's awesome.
5. Thank you for that. Thank you. And Angela Falalala, thank you for the $5.
Thank you.
It helps a great deal. Hey, we should tell our viewers and listeners about our little brag from yesterday.
Oh yeah,
we were the second most watched show on Rumble yesterday, second only to Fox News, and by only 50 views.
We kicked OAN's ass.
How do you like that?
We beat Brennan.
I'm amazed by it.
Yeah,
I'm amazed by it. But it's because of these folks right here. So thank you very much. We're able to brag because of you guys. Thank you very much.
And Robbie.
And Robbie is a friggin' genius when it comes to this stuff. I don't know. I can't keep all that straight in my mind. All this tech stuff.
No, the tech stuff is hard. Yeah, I mean, like, we're lucky we're still on air right now. You know what I'm saying?
I know, right?
I'm one like retarded swipe away from knocking the whole thing down. It's like basically like a cat is next to your champagne flutes. You know?
That's right.
Nothing good is going to happen here.
No, sir. No.
Just a quick note. I don't know if you want to. I mean, we did talk about Trump's $15 billion defamation suit against the LA Times.
Yeah.
The judge was so pissed at the retarded way in which it was written. And basically it's a giant editorial Trump style, like Truth Social type rant instead of a properly written legal brief, that he tossed it. He called it impermissible.
Wow.
He was furious. Now that said,
that hurts.
He's going to let them, but the editorializing that the judge did himself in basically saying like, this is like, you have no business wasting the court's time like this. It's really worth reading. I mean, if you,
that hurts.
The judge is, I mean, basically like, oh, you can refile. I would say it's probably not a good idea to refile in this same court.
The judge is not going to like it. Not refile. But this is like a normal thing now. It's like every time I get a push notification on my phone, or every other time I look at it, and it's some Trump lawsuit that's been thrown out, or some Trump policy that a district court judge has frozen. Yeah,
that's all it is. I mean, he's throwing so much shit at the at the courts, at the wall, and hoping that it sticks. The problem is the Supreme Court lets some of it stick.
Yes. Yeah, that's exactly right.
Okay, I do have to hit this. So, what do we think about the Estonian situation? So, according to the Estonian government, three Russian fighter jets were over Estonia for about 12 minutes today. This, of course, follows that incident where the Russian drones were over Poland last week. And, Russians are like, it is mistake. We do not know how this happens.
It is most definitely not a mistake. This is the Russians probing. Listen, the Russians are doing very well right now in Ukraine. I had dinner with a bunch of Russian studies professors over the weekend, Peter Kuznick and a bunch of people who work with him at American University. Universally, they said the Russians are kicking Ukrainian ass, and that's why there are no peace negotiations right now. They don't need peace negotiations because they're winning. So, number one. Number two, you do this once and it's a mistake. And then diplomatically, you write a little message, you send it through the back channel. We're sorry we violated your sovereign airspace. We'll be more careful next time. That's not what's happening here. The Russians are probing, whether it's over Romania or Poland or now Estonia, just to see what NATO's reaction is going to be. And the reaction has been no reaction, other than to run to the media and say, oh my God, the Russians violated our airspace. What NATO's going to have to do is they're going to have to shoot something down. whether it's a Russian jet, and they're not using jets, they're only using drones so far, or the drone. I don't know if one drone can shoot down another drone. I suppose that it can.
I don't see why not.
If you can load a guided missile, if it can carry a guided missile, then certainly you can. Or I suppose you could do it from the ground.
I don't know if the drone generates enough heat to
see. That's what I was thinking.
To be effective for a heat-seeking missile.
Yeah, but I mean,
some drones,
that's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
I
mean, obviously, it could be targeted, remotely, right? I mean,
yeah.
I mean, the thing is, drones normally. I mean, aren't drones normally air to surface? I mean, it's
yes, they're air to surface.
They're not usually, air to air.
Yeah,
that's sort of like calls for a fighter jet, I think.
I think so too. But you see, then we get back to that old question: is you could also collide your drone into their drone. That you absolutely can, or you can laser it. If you shoot lasers at a drone, the guidance system becomes confused and it crashes itself. There's a fantastic
video. The Russians are good at that.
Oh, there's a fantastic video of a student demonstration in Santiago, Chile. If you go on YouTube, it's an amazing video where hundreds of students have those little laser pens, and the cops have a drone that's watching the crowd, and they're all firing their laser pens at the drone, and it just starts to wobble, and then it just crashes, and people start cheering and screaming. It's very effective. But getting back to my main point, this is the Russians actively testing NATO, and NATO's failing the test so far.
I mean, John, it's 12 minutes. I mean, that's a long time.
That's a long time.
Fighter jets can go 5 times, 6 times the speed of sound. Mach 5, Mach 6.
Yeah.
I mean, so they're traveling a long way potentially in 12 minutes.
Yeah.
And as one of the people here, one of our commenters said, Bruyal definitif think Erdogan shot down a Russian jet for breaching Turkish airspace for just a few seconds. I remember that.
Oh, I remember.
Yeah, from Syria, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Stephen Victor Andrews has a good question. Hasn't the DNI now done her part to pave the way for the prosecution of John Brennan at all? I would think yes, but remember that there is a grand jury meeting in Washington. And so I guess that we're just going to have to wait to see if the grand jury indicts. But remember, we had a conversation about that grand jury where we wondered why they called a grand jury in Washington. Why not in the Eastern District of Virginia? John Brennan is a Democrat for all intents and purposes. And so why not indict him in a place where he's more likely to be convicted? I don't understand. Oh, hey, Mike, thank you for the $20. I wrote with a former CIA officer. He told me this morning John was one of the few guys with balls at the agency. That makes my day.
It's funny. When I first read that, I thought he said, I row with a former CIA officer.
And that would be fun, too.
That's different.
That's different. That's very sweet. That really does make my day. Thank you. I'll tell you one other thing.
And by the way, so these were. So I'm Yaya 97 saying no jet can fly Mach 5, Mach 6. I don't think that's true. I think experimental jets can. But you're right. Stevie says these were apparently SR-71s. They can fly Mach 3. So
Mach 3 is pretty doggone fast. You figure Mach 1 is what, 640 miles an hour? Something like that?
That's right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, and over on where am I? Rumble. Was it Rumble? I saw somebody's, maybe not. I can't keep these straight. Somebody said it was actually a MiG rather than a drone. See, and that's what's going to be so dangerous is if NATO is going to be forced to try to take down a MiG. I mean, I don't know what the Russians get out of this other than some propaganda, and they get to stick their thumb in NATO's eye, which is perfectly fine. But is it really worth it to send up a MiG?
It seems like a really bad idea to me. I mean, it's kind of like it's sort of like North Korean like behavior, right? Like, hello, we're here. Pay attention to us. Remember us?
Yeah. I don't get it. Scott Matheson, statute of limitations will prevent any prosecutions for Epstein perpetrators, according to Judge Napolitano. Judge Napolitano is exactly right. And nobody's going to be prosecuted for what happened with Epstein. But with Brennan, I understand that the tack that they're taking is to accuse Brennan of, well, let me back up. He was first accused of lying to Congress. Big deal. It can be a felony. It's usually not. It's usually a misdemeanor. Statute of limitations is up anyway. Nobody cares anymore. Number two, it was some other misdemeanor with Congress. I forget what it was. Nobody cares. But if what we're being told is true, that he actively sought to deny Donald Trump the presidency in 2016, and then kept that going with the letter, from the 51 CIA people, that's an ongoing conspiracy. And so the statute of limitations hasn't even really begun to run yet because it's an ongoing conspiracy. That's where I think they're going to get it. And, I hate to be that guy that wishes ill on anybody, but John Brennan is a dangerous SOB. And I really do hope that he gets what he has coming to him.
Yeah, it'll free up some airtime on MSNBC too.
Yeah, seriously. Ugh, MSNBC. They're lost cause over there. Ted, I switch around the networks all the time. Today I decided to watch Morning Joe for the first time in ages. And they are pathetic, but not just pathetic. They don't realize that they're pathetic. Like, they pretend to run and scream and yell about Donald Trump. And then we read in the Washington Post that Joe Scarborough called Donald Trump to say how sorry he was about his friend Charlie Kirk being killed. Like, what's that all about?
I mean, he's a worm. I mean, he's a suck up.
Suck up in the worst way.
He always has been.
I can't stand him.
He likes to play all sides. He's Vichy. He doesn't have an opinion. He's just, I mean, honestly, if the socialist revolution came out tomorrow, he'd be wearing a Mao jacket and a Fidel Castro hat and a hammer and sickle all over him.
You're right. When Brian Becker and I had our show, I used to watch Morning Joe every day because we would talk a lot about politics. And Brian would always say, John, you watch Morning Joe, so the rest of us don't have to. What did he have to say about this? And the truth was, I was watching it so nobody else would have to. Now I can't force myself through it. I just can't.
Well, it's also
liars.
It's also boring, right?
It is boring. Yeah.
And then who's that guy that they have on? Oh my God, it drives me crazy. The one from Boston.
Who got in trouble for plagiarism.
The plagiarist. Mm-hmm. He drives me insane.
Mike
Barnacle.
Mike Barnacle.
Attached like a barnacle to the ass of American journalism.
Yes.
I mean, how is it that the dude's pulling down maybe $1 million a year or ish?
Yeah.
I mean, bloviating. I mean, he never explained himself. I believe in redemption, but it's not like he redeemed himself. There was never any penance. I mean, he did it. He was a plagiarist. And so, whatever.
Oh, yeah. Lulu's correcting us. She thinks we mean MS Now. She's right.
Right. It's MS Now.
I forgot about that.
It's like the Gulf of America. Everything's getting renamed. It's like, by the way, Donald Trump's, we should talk about his polls. New Washington Post poll is out, right? So it turns out that the National Guard in the cities went over like a lead balloon. So 10%
among Republicans.
Like overall 10-point margin is against his overall handling of crime. I thought that would have been one of his strong points. They're against what he's doing on immigration, the economy, and foreign wars by double-digit margins. And but even so, Republicans trust Democrats more than they trust Republicans more than Americans trust Republicans more than Democrats by a 2-to-1 margin. So what's going on is that basically just like, I mean, here's my take. I think the voters basically are saying we like the general idea of coming down on crime and illegal immigration, all that. We don't like Donald Trump's execution. And when it comes to the Democrats, we don't trust them. We think they're completely incompetent and can't do anything.
I think that's it. I think you've hit it on the head. Everybody's upset about the current state of politics in the United States, but the Democrats are so weak, so spineless, that as unpopular as Donald Trump is, the Democrats are simply unable to capitalize on it.
Because they're even worse. More unpopular.
Yeah, they're even
Donald Trump
more
would
unpopular.
still win the election against Harris.
Yes, he would. Yes, he would. Hey, speaking of Harris, did you see yesterday that both Buttigieg and Shapiro came out swinging?
Yep.
In response to Harris's autobiography.
Especially Shapiro.
And I have to say, Harris did herself no favors with this book, because talk about spineless. She admits, yeah, I was kind of spineless. Yeah. I pretended that Biden was sane, just like everybody else did. Yeah, I probably should have said something in retrospect, but I didn't. And then
John, I'm gonna push back on you.
Okay.
So you and I both have read a lot of political memoir.
Oh yeah.
I think I probably agree on which ones are great and which ones are not. To me, President Grant's superb.
The gold standard.
The gold
definitely. Standard. One of the greatest presidential memoirs ever written. The whole series.
Partial. I didn't like President Truman, but I like his memoirs.
Agreed.
Bill Clinton's very bad.
Terrible.
But anyway,
in part because he wrote them himself.
Yeah, that's funny, right? Well, I do think, though, however, what's usually lacking in the modern memoir is candor.
Yes.
And I think Harris gave us candor.
I can see that. Yeah.
And I feel like don't write a memoir. And you know what this signals to me? She's done with politics. She doesn't care about burning bridges with Pete Buttigieg because she's never running again.
No, I think you're right. One of the things that was most interesting to me was the complaint that Shapiro had that when he went to interview for the vice presidency, they immediately didn't mesh. And they didn't mesh.
Well, he was literally measuring the drapes already as soon as he got there.
Yeah, he was. And he said something. This was the most fascinating to me. He said something to her that he would like to sit in on important meetings of state because as vice president, he would need to know, what's going on. She's like, that's not the way it works. When you're vice president, you don't get access to all the important stuff. It's like, maybe you didn't get access to the important stuff.
I was going to say, I'm pretty sure Dick Cheney got access to all the important
stuff. The question for Dick Cheney was, do we give Bush access to come into the meeting?
That's exactly right.
Wow.
Yeah, I thought that was very telling. I thought Shapiro's ask was not only a fair ask, it's also what prepares you to step in case something happens.
That's right.
And you end up taking the top job.
Well, like Harry Truman. Harry Truman had no idea that we had a nuclear bomb.
Yeah, it's like, by the way, because FDR hated him and thought he was a rube and
cut him out.
Yeah, it's like LBJ, who was not an idiot but was frozen out by the Kennedy brothers.
That's right.
And he got up to speed right away. But Jesus Christ! So I thought, but I was sympathetic to her about Shapiro because Shapiro it rung true to me. Shapiro does strike me as a dick, and I was like, I can see him basically coming in like, oh yeah, I'll be your vice president. And but what was missing there? I don't know if it's in the book. I'll read it. I don't understand. The elephant in the room about Shapiro is Gaza. How could she would have lost by even more if she'd had Shapiro. No way Shapiro will ever be able to be a president or vice president in the Democratic Party, not after his bloody embrace of Netanyahu.
The guy was an IDF soldier.
It's ridiculous.
It's like a bad joke to me that he has the balls to run for president of the United States when he served a foreign country.
Yeah. A foreign country that's probably caused the U.S. more harm than any other foreign country.
Yeah.
And I'm going to throw in Russia and China by comparison.
Agreed.
No, it's completely insane. But
oh my God.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
I think it is.
By the way, what about ICE? So ICE is poised to become the biggest armed force on the planet by the end of next year.
Yes.
And so now we know that they're out. So by the way, the economy may suck, and there were only 22,000 jobs created last month, but ICE is hiring. They're hiring over 10,000 immigration officers and attorneys.
10,000.
The GSA is forming special teams to expedite the search for 300 new office spaces, John. And they're going to try to send, this is kind of like a military project. They're trying to send as many of these offices as they can to the red states and cities to get some money, to pour some money in there.
Yes.
So it's the deportation industrial complex.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. And one of the bad parts, in my view, is there doesn't seem to be any strategy here. It's not that, let's say, they're targeting California vegetable growers, right? Or they're targeting North Carolina chicken processors. It's just wherever they happen to pick up some poor sap, waiting in front of the Home Depot, they just take him. Or they target innocent people who should not be expelled, people with valid green cards, for example, as they're walking out of an immigration office or out of court. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
Speaking of valid green card holders, Mahmoud Khalil, former Columbia University grad student, he was just ordered deported by a Louisiana immigration judge. The decision is stayed because of the federal court ruling saying that his First Amendment rights may have been violated. Certainly they were. But I think he's going to win that ruling. I think that judge in New Jersey is slow and deliberative, but he'll come up with the right call. But meanwhile, and at least Khalil's home with his wife and newborn child, which is great. But I mean, that can you imagine that immigration court judge? It's like, you're going to deport a dude who, he committed no crime, and he's just a dad, and because you don't like his blabbing about Gaza on a college campus. That's it, really? Green card.
Yeah. That should be just off limits to ICE. Off limits. Unless you're plotting the overthrow of the American government or planning to blow up a building somewhere. Okay, fine. The Secretary of State has the authority to revoke a green card, but otherwise, forget it.
No, agreed with that. So, I mean, hell, they can even technically deport you if you're a naturalized citizen, right?
Yes. Yes, they can.
My mother always worried about that. She's like, I get in trouble.
I worked with a husband and wife team at the agency. The husband was a close friend of mine. He was the executive assistant. He was the other executive assistant along with me. And he married a woman who was naturalized. She was originally Lebanese. She had been at the FBI for 10 years, and she transferred over to the CIA. And it turns out that she called a cousin in Lebanon, and the cousin then, just to say hi, how's grandma, that kind of thing. The cousin then married a guy who had briefly been a member of Hezbollah. And so they grabbed my colleague. The FBI did. This was a big fight between the CIA and the FBI. They grabbed her. They suspended her. They charged her with lying on her citizenship application.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. And she lost her security clearance. She lost her job. She was almost deported. And finally, George Tenet went to the president and said, please put a stop to this. And George W. Bush finally told the FBI to back off.
Well, Aaron Albrecht has a question. Okay. Chris Hedges said that this ICE infrastructure is building up for a secret police crackdown. First they come for the migrants, then they come for Us.
Yeah.
What do we think? I mean, it may not even be planned that way, but history shows that infrastructure like this tends to get used, right? And organizations are self-perpetuating. They, there's a mission. It's sort of like I always say, the American Cancer Society would be seriously bummed if cancer went away. And, it's like, I think there's you're going to build all this. Like, what if ICE successfully deports all the illegal immigrants? Then what?
Then the economy collapses.
Yeah, what do? They go home? I mean,
right.
Mission accomplished. All done.
Great.
There.
And then we're not going to have any fruits, vegetables, chicken, or pork. Or beef. That's going to be the end of it. And then what do we do?
And no one in Manhattan will ever have their apartments cleaned, but by anyone but themselves.
Never. That's what I mean. There's no strategy here.
No.
I keep going back to this deal that George W. Bush negotiated with Vicente Fox, the president of Mexico, in the months before 9/11, where they agreed that people who were here illegally could apply for 9-month work visas, work the 9 months, pay taxes, go back home for 3 months, come back again for another 9 months, and then everybody's happy. And it ended up not being implemented, not even being presented to the Senate for ratification because 9/11 happened. And then everything just came to a screeching halt. It was a good idea. It was a program that would have worked, and we have never revisited it.
Yeah, no strategy. None whatsoever. I do want to address this. I'm glad you brought it up. Stephen Victor Andrews. From my view, the hysteria over ICE is just Democratic partisan talking points. We've had a high-tech police state forever.
Yeah.
None of this is new.
Good point.
Well, the high-tech police state is well taken. Snowden reminded of that and exposed it more. But I got to disagree that there's nothing new here. I mean, there's something very new when you have guys in unmarked vans, in masks, and no ID, driving around and scooping people up randomly and dragging them off into the night. And they're supposedly government agents. And we already know there's been cases of impersonation. Yeah. I mean, that's Gestapo shit. And I mean, the infrastructure for the Gestapo shit has been here. For example, when you drive on the Triborough Bridge, also known as the RFK Bridge, that connects Queens, the Bronx, and Manhattan, you'll notice these flashing lights go off as you get on. Well, those are all facial recognition flashers that take your picture. And if you come up, if they get a ping, it says, "Oh, there's an outstanding warrant for that asshole Ted Rall." The state troopers are waiting on the far end of the bridge to pull you over. Yeah, totally serious. Wow. But at least those follow the law.
Yeah.
This is creating a new non-law law, I think is the way I would put it. I think this is different.
Oh, that's frightening. I didn't know that. I will say a couple of years ago, somebody stole my back license plate, probably some kids. And so it was during COVID. So the DMV was closed. I had to get a new license plate online. It took 3 weeks. So I called the cops because the DMV said you have to have a police report. So I called the cops and they sent me a form to fill out. I fill out the form and then they give me a letter. And the cop said to me, "Listen, you're going to get pulled over like all the time until you get the new license plate. So just show them this form and they'll let you go." Mm-hmm. There's a facial recognition thing and a license plate reader at the corner of 15th and Constitution Avenue as you cross past the back of the White House. I got stopped 6 times in 6 days.
Wow.
And finally, I lost my temper the last time. But yeah, they'll grab you. They'll grab you.
I'm also glad this brought up, Stevie's asking, curious about a general strike like during Occupy Wall Street when they were talking about a general strike. As some propose, what would it accomplish? Well, first of all, I want to just say a general strike cannot happen without an organized left-wing infrastructure.
Amen.
Won't work. A general strike would be like one of the it's a late period pre-revolutionary move that would come right before the overthrow of the government. This is like sort of like your 9-year-old. It's like, oh, so I want to argue my PhD thesis now. Like, we're like nowhere near that right now. Right. Like right now, we need to sign up for pre-K.
Yeah.
And hopefully they'll let us in.
That's right.
That's where the left is. I mean, general strike.
Plus, how many other countries are there where a majority of labor union members vote for the likes of Donald Trump? Right.
Well, the good news is there's only 9% of American workers are in a union to begin with.
That's right.
So that's only 5% of
down from 25% 20 years ago. Yeah, crazy.
Okay, so we're getting to the end here. Probably should take note of the fact that the Israelis never enough blood for them. They decided to attack a Yemeni media company.
Yep.
They killed 31 journalists. They claimed this was a Houthi TV station in Sana'a. They also killed a random kid. The IDF said that the media building was a Houthi propaganda hub.
Oh, for God's sake.
So
shame on them. Yesterday at this event in Chicago, Ali Abunimah from the Electronic Intifada was supposed to speak and to collect an award. Unfortunately, his mother died yesterday morning, and so he couldn't be there. But one of his colleagues was there, and she put a slide up. We had a minute of silence for journalists killed in Gaza. I did not know that since October 7th, the Israelis have killed 220 journalists in Gaza. It's the bloodiest period for journalism ever recorded.
By far, John.
By far.
I mean, my journalist convoy that went into Afghanistan in November of 2001, at that time had the highest fatality rate of any group of journalists in the history of war correspondency. All told, we lost 8 out of 45. 8. And people were appalled. It got international coverage. It was, a big deal. I got to question Victoria Clark at a press conference about it. It was, she was the defense press secretary. And the point is, that was a big deal. 8. This is over 300.
My God.
I mean, that was only 24 years ago when 8 was a shocker.
Yeah.
I mean, 300, it's like, I hate to say it, we don't care as much because they're Palestinian stringers.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
They're not white enough.
It's just, it's sick. Truly.
It is sick. Well, guys, let's see. Do I check? No more ads. So I guess that's it for today and for the week. Unless, John, you want to add anything?
No, I've already announced here, but I finally said on Facebook today, October 9th, the Joe Rogan Experience starring John Kiriakou. It'll be broadcast on the 10th. Please check it out. I think it's going to be a big day.
I know I certainly will. Everyone, please like, follow, and share the show. Watch us on Rumble if you can. Even if you hate Rumble, just keep the Rumble running and watch us on YouTube.
God bless Rumble.
We're working on the donation, thing on YouTube. Robbie has a ticket in. We'll see if and when the alphabet ever gets back to us. We're here Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. Eastern time. We'll be back Monday at 5 p.m. Eastern time. One little quick pitch. I have a book out. Let's see if I can make it even appear here. Maybe not. Add to stage. There we go. Never mind the Democrats. Here's what's left. Radical solutions for radical problems. And it's basically a thought experiment. What would happen if the left were to come to power and had the same exact budget and the same tax income and everything that the current government has? How could that money all be reallocated and into things that are, actually serve the people? So, I just thought it's, obviously it's not going to happen, but it's a way of sort of saying, look, there's benchmarks. And for example, we can make college free. We can have free healthcare. We can completely get rid of homelessness, solve the homelessness crisis overnight. So we have the money, we have the resources. And I always thought, like, I think we do, but I wanted to sit down and spreadsheet that shit and make sure it was true. And it is true. And it's basically me proving that. So anyway, thanks all. And we will see you Monday. Bye, John.
Bye-bye. Boy, that went fast.
It was good.